This is Dr. Someshwar from Shield Healthcare. I hope everyone doing good. And I welcome you all on to the Menopause series by Dr. Payal Bhargav, a co-founder of Divine Magic Foundation. Before starting the talk, let me take privilege to introduce Dr. Payal Bhargav ma'am, who is a postgraduate diploma in ART from and reproductive medicine from Kiel, Germany. And she did her fellowship in infertility from IMA Hyderabad, and she is a life member of IMA Menopause Society India and PCOS Society India. She is a member of Managing Committee of PCOS Society India and co-founder and director on board XPS Analytics Private Limited, and consultant at Sri Krishna Diagnostic Center, and also consultant at Pranada Hospital, Hyderabad. And she is a co-founder for Divine Magic Foundation, a public health and awareness initiative working at grassroots level and digitally through its YouTube channel. Now, without much further ado, let me turn over the time to Dr. Payal Bhargav to take over the session.
Episode, I talked about PCOS and menopause and how PCOS continues till the age of menopause and impacts a woman's life. The menopausal sufferings increase if a woman has PCOS. Today, I'll be talking on a very important topic, that is contraception in perimenopause. So before getting into the depth of the topic, let's see what perimenopause is. Perimenopause is the time when the reproductive hormones first start to change. While periods continue during this time, they typically become irregular. That is, a period may not occur every month as the production of estrogen and progesterone slows down. Additional symptoms may occur, though some individuals report feeling normal during perimenopause. So we have a photo here where you can see what are the symptoms a woman has during perimenopause. She'll complain of irregular periods, night sweats, hot flushes, other problems. Now, menopause onset, as we all know, is marked by the final period a woman has. If a woman with a uterus has gone 12 months without a period, they are in the menopause phase. Their life after that 12 months is considered postmenopausal. So we have just seen what are the stages of menopause. Let's discuss in detail about perimenopause. Now, perimenopause marks a transition from ovulation, that is, when your eggs are being formed and released, to anovulation, where there's no eggs, and ultimately permanent loss of ovarian function, where the eggs are made, in which a woman passes from the reproductive to the non-reproductive phase for her life. So essentially what it means is that perimenopause, you are still making eggs and you can still get pregnant. Although there's a decline in natural fertility, contraception is needed to avoid unplanned pregnancies. In this age group, many pregnancies are unintended. Contraception is as important in the perimenopause age group as in the reproductive age group. Now, despite declines in fertility during perimenopause, it is still possible to become pregnant. Even when periods become less frequent, the body may be releasing eggs. It is also necessary to keep track of menstrual cycles in order to determine when it has been 12 months since the last cycle. Now, scheduling regular gynecological visits is a great way to help ensure that any rogue pregnancies will be detected early. So let's see what is contraception. The intentional prevention of pregnancy through the use of various devices, agents, drugs, sexual practices, or surgical procedures. So if we are using a contraception in perimenopausal age, for how long are we supposed to use it? When should we stop taking birth control pills? Now continue using contraception for 12 months after menstruation has ceased. Women less than 45 years old should continue contraception for 2 years after menstruation has ceased. Now, criteria for an ideal contraceptive is it should be highly effective, it should have no side effects, independent of intercourse, it should be rapidly reversible, it should be low in cost, widespread availability should be there, acceptable to all cultures and religions, administration and healthcare personnel should not be required, and it should be easily distributed. Now we have a table here for contraceptive in women aged 35 years and older according to Indian Menopause Society. Now the various contraceptions that are available for women who are older than 35 years are tubal ligation, vasectomy for men, condoms, intrauterine devices, and oral contraceptives. Now the tubal ligation can prevent unintended pregnancy. It minimizes hormonal fluctuations. No, it doesn't. It provides additional health benefits. Yes, ovarian cancer and uterine infections are prevented by tubal ligation. Coming to vasectomy, yes, it does prevent unintended pregnancy, and it has no role in minimizing hormonal fluctuations or provide additional benefits. Whereas the condoms do provide benefits from STD and HIV transmission prevention. Coming to IUD devices, yes, they do prevent unintended pregnancy, minimize hormonal fluctuations, and help in early detection of cervical cancer with all IODs, possible protection of endometrial cancer. They decrease anemia by decreasing the blood flow, dysmenorrhea, and PID with progesterone IUDs. The oral contraceptives help in all of these. That is, they prevent unintended pregnancy, they minimize hormonal fluctuations, and they also help in prevention of ovarian endometrial cancers, bone protection, relief of hormonal fluctuations, and cycle controlled dysmenorrhea, and etc. So let's see in detail each of these and decide which will benefit the most. So which contraceptive is best for me? How to decide which birth control is right for you? A woman needs to consider her age, her health status, her menstrual history, risk of sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, past contraception used, lifestyle, and obstetric history. So let's discuss each method in detail. Now, we can classify the methods of contraception as permanent and long-lasting and reversible. Now, methods of contraception for perimenopausal women, let's first discuss about surgical sterilization. Now, surgical sterilization is a permanent method of sterilization. That is, once the operation is done, you can never get pregnant again. There are reversible surgeries, but the success rate is very low because in these surgeries, the tube is either cut or a clip is put. Now, if you go for reconstruction surgeries, there are very many chances of you getting an ectopic pregnancy. That is, the baby will get stuck in the tubes. So surgical sterilization is the most accepted method, and almost 50% of women prefer it in India. It is a single act resulting in a highly effective and safe method. It appears to reduce the risk of pelvic inflammatory disease and also may reduce the risk of ovarian cancer. Now, there are two ways how it can be done. In the first picture, you can see there are two clips. This is done by laparoscopic, or what the women here say in the local language is a durbin ka surgery. So what we do in this is we just make two holes in the abdomen and we put two clips by laparoscope on the two tubes. The other surgery is where we cut the tubes. This is usually done when you are going through a cesarean section or just after normal delivery. this procedure can be done, but it is not preferred now. It is called tubal ligation. Now, what I prefer and I generally advise for all my patients is vasectomy. That is, it is a sterilization of a male. It is even safer except for minor complications, which generally do not occur. So male surgery is something which I would recommend to all instead of going for female surgical sterilization. The disadvantage of this surgery is it is a permanent method. So if God forbid you lose your kids or you remarry, or after a divorce you want to marry someone else, you can never have kids. The other point I would like to emphasize here is, so both the surgeries are generally done in anesthesia for women, whereas NSP is done under local. In the government camps, we do these surgeries under local anesthesia, but still it is riskier for women. So it is always better if men go for this surgery. Now, the next option is combined oral contraceptive pills. This is the most preferred method in the perimenopausal women, and I'll let you know why. Now, oral contraceptives are combined formulations of the two hormones that are produced by ovaries, that is estrogen and progesterone. During menopause, these hormones are low. So at menopause, combined oral contraceptive pills prevent pregnancy, impacts the hormonal fluctuations associated with perimenopause, and provide additional non-contraceptive benefits. Low-risk women who do not smoke and have a normal blood pressure may continue taking these pills beyond 35 years also. There are two important prerequisites for the safe provision of oral contraceptive. That is, a careful personal and family history and an accurate measurement of blood pressure. Now, can all perimenopausal women be given this oral contraceptive? No, they cannot be. In spite of various advantages that oral contraceptive pill has in perimenopausal women, it cannot be given to all women. So here is a list of few advantages and disadvantages of birth control pills. The advantages are that your periods will become regular. Now we have already seen that in perimenopause time, your periods become irregular. Sometimes you will have no flow and sometimes you will have excessive flow. They will come once in a month or maybe once in 2 months or maybe twice in a month. So this is the irregularity women face. So by taking this birth control pills, that is taken care of. Less menstrual cramping, facial hair, acne, and menstrual flow. Now we all know that there's hyperandrogenism during perimenopause and menopause. Hyperandrogenism means you will have male-like pattern of hair distribution. That is also taken care by oral pills. Reduces risk of ovarian and womb cancer and infections of tubes and ovaries. It strengthens bones by regulating hormones. Now we all know that the peak bone mass occurs at 25 years of age, and after that it starts reducing. So if you are on taking birth control pills, that bone loss is reduced. Some protection from PID. PID is pelvic inflammatory disease or disease in your uterus, tubes, and vagina. Now, what are the disadvantages of these pills and why it cannot be given to all women when, in spite of having so many benefits? It must be taken daily and it is hard to remember to take. So this is the biggest disadvantage of this pill, that it has to be taken daily. Now, I usually advise my patients, if you are taking birth control pills, keep it in your breakfast plate. Whenever you're having a breakfast, just keep it so that you will remember to take it. Side effects include irregular bleeding, weight gain or loss, changes in mood, nausea, breast tenderness, and headaches. Now, I would like to emphasize here that in spite of this list of disadvantages that it has, it generally doesn't occur in all the patients. Yes, few patients will get it. Increased health risk when used with smoking. There's slight increase in the risk of blood clots. It does not protect against sexual transmitted diseases like HIV. Now, as I said that all women cannot be given OC pills in spite of its advantages, there are some absolute contraindications. That means these women should never ever take oral contraceptive pills. So the women who have migraine, who are already pregnant and are breastfeeding for 6 months, severe hypertension, complicated valvular heart disease, diabetes mellitus with vascular complications, who have active liver disease, who have undergone any major surgery and a prolonged immobilization or are on bed for a very long time. So these are the women who should never take oral contraceptive pills. So here I'm going to present once again what are the advantages of taking OC pills in perimenopause. So it reduces menstrual blood loss, that is, it prevents anemia. It improves dysmenorrhea, that is the pain that you have during periods, that is reduced drastically by taking these pills. Acne and hirsutism both are reduced. It improves premenstrual syndrome. It treats perimenopausal hot flushes, insomnia, etc. It improves cyclical variability and perimenopausal symptoms, which are often intensified. It suppresses endometriosis and functional ovarian cyst. It protects against iron deficiency anemia. It protects against salpingitis and ectopic pregnancy. It protects against benign breast disease, ovarian cancer, endometrial cancer. It helps in maintaining bone mineral density, that is, it will prevent fractures from happening. It may protect postmenopausal women from hip fractures also. So here is a huge list of advantages of taking an OC pill. Now, as we go further in the series, there's one topic I'll be talking about, that is menopausal hormonal treatment. That is the only treatment available for menopausal women. So if a patient is taking OC pills, that is also a hormonal pill, it is very easy to switch the patient to hormonal treatment later in life, which has very many advantages. So now coming to the next, that is intrauterine contraceptive device or COPRT, which we all know. Now there are many older women who are ideal candidates for this, like people who cannot be put on OC pills can always be advised to take intrauterine contraceptive device. Now, apart from the copper intrauterine contraceptive device, which we all know, there's levonorgestrel releasing intrauterine system, that is we call LNG-IUS, that has raised the profile and increased acceptability. Now, the biggest disadvantage of getting a COPRT inserted was it would lead to cramping and excessive blood loss and bleeding. So patients would take this and then they come back after a month or so and saying that we are having too heavy periods, we cannot take it anymore, so please just remove this. But now with LNG-IUS coming in, and it is in the lower picture that you can see with this two red prongs, this has progesterone in it. Now this progesterone hormone, what it does is it reduces the cramping and bleeding. So the only disadvantage this IUCD device had, the COPRT, is now taken care of with this LNG-IUS. So this is now widely accepted and it has very many advantages in reducing cramping and reducing the blood loss during periods. So copper-bearing intrauterine device increase menstrual blood loss and dysmenorrhea. And for some older women with some pre-existing premenopausal problems, this may be unacceptable. A copper IUD inserted after the age of 40 years can remain in situ until a year following a woman's last menstrual period without being changed. So as you can see, when you put a COPRT in a woman who is 40 years old, so it can be continued till she reaches menopause and a year after that. It doesn't need to be changed. Now, the LNG-IUS is an ideal method for women with pre-existing gynecological problems. It is associated with a substantial reduction in menstrual blood loss and dysmenorrhea. It offers a real alternative to hysterectomy for women with menorrhagia. So now during this perimenopausal time, as I said, that the periods are generally irregular. She may have endometriosis or there may be fibroid big tumors which might be causing heavy bleeding. So all these things are taken care by LNG-IUS. Now, The surgery can still be recommended, but till the time the patient is waiting for surgery, we can use this. It can be used as the vehicle to administer the progesterone phase of hormone therapy, thus giving a no period formulation. So as we see, LNG IUS is a very good alternative for intrauterine contraceptive device compared to copper T. Now the other method is barrier method. Consistency and correct use is highly effective in preventing pregnancy and infections. Condoms should be recommended in any new relationship, irrespective of age, for personal protection against sexually transmitted infections. So this is the biggest advantage of using the barrier method of contraception, that it protects you from various sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, HBs antigen, BTA, syphilis, etc. So now coming to emergency postcoital contraception. It includes oral contraceptive pills, progesterone-only pills, and copper 380. Now, although emergency postcoital contraception is cost-effective, it is not as effective as consistent use of other contraceptives. It is usually used within 72 hours of unprotected intercourse. So to conclude, contraception at menopause transition is different from that offered at a younger age group. The age, requirement, BMI, presence of comorbidities, and symptoms of menopause need to be taken into consideration for prescribing contraception. Now, what I mean by this is that during the perimenopause and menopause, the woman has various diseases. Like already discussed, they might have metabolic syndrome, high BP, or diabetes and other problems. So for all those women, we need to choose which is the best method of contraception we can give them. So for that, a detailed history and examination of the patient is very, very important. Now, the health benefits of contraceptive use is greatest for women in the 35 to 44 years of age group, because the risk of mortality associated with pregnancy is greatest among these age group. So it is very important that the woman uses some contraceptive in this age. Pregnancies in elderly women are associated with higher maternal and perinatal mortality and fetal malformations. Now, if an elderly woman gets pregnant, there are very high chances that the baby she will have will be abnormal. There are various syndromes, and abnormal babies are born to these women. And it is a very high risk for both mother and the child to survive. Now, this could also lead to psychological and potentially calamitous domestic and social consequences. So it is very important that we use contraception during the perimenopause time. Now, what follow-up is required for women over 40 years using contraception? Women aged over 40 years should be advised to return for follow-up if they develop any problems with contraception or develop any new medical history that may influence contraceptive choice, or when they reach the age of 50 years. So follow-up of these patients are very important. Now, what most of the patients do is once you prescribe them any contraceptive, they don't want to come to the hospital again, especially during the COVID times. Now, when we use oral contraceptive pills, we have seen it does harms the liver and other things. So we need to have a follow-up of these patients. Usually for my patients, I call them once after starting in the 1 month, then every 3 months for the patients who are using oral contraceptive pills to measure their blood pressure, to have their blood test done, etc. Now, for the patients who are on copper T or on LNG IUS, we usually call them after first month of insertion because it has high chances that it might come out. And the patient is advised to keep checking the thread frequently, especially during the time of first periods, the first period she gets after the insertion and when she is using the toilet. So at that time, she should be aware that it doesn't fall out. Then we call her again after 3 months, 6 months, and then for an yearly follow-up. So this has to be counseled to them many times, because once the copper T is inserted or they are put on oral pills, they will keep on taking the tablets without coming back. to you for checkup. So thank you so much for your patient hearing. I hope you will benefit from this.